Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Dr. Cyrine Nehmé, fresh from Paris. Look, you're still rocking the glow and everything.
Thank you.
How was it?
Good. Still, yeah, it's good. Every time is really nice when I come back to Paris. I lived there here for 18 years, and it's really well in Europe, and it's really very, very nice.
Do you feel refreshed enough to entertain my ideas of madness about space?
Of course, and Paris is really very refreshing. You have this feeling of freedom and this feeling of craziness, and even without interacting with people, you feel that you are creative.
Do you think it's just the peaceful scenario that it kind of plays about, like the beautiful, like aesthetic look to the land? I would say, like a lot of people really never get to look more past their daily route to work. And it's like once you leave that daily route to work and you go and travel abroad, you're seeing such amazing things. One place I've always wanted to visit was Stonehenge, just because it's old history. I like the classic look of things, but it's different from what I'm used to.
Well, it's yes and no. It's just let me fix my. I have a very big fauteuil. You see, very big for me,
It's a
so I
nice
have to
chair. I'm
fix it.
jealous.
Yeah, it's a very old one. Here where I stay, my godparents have everything that is like 1 century, 2 century, and where I used to stay in Normandy, it's like the place where I was like 4 centuries or five, 6 century also, and the building there. But to come back to your question, it is a mixture of two things. The whole Europe is something peaceful, but Paris has, at least for me, something different. It's a mixture of the peaceful when you get out of your routine also, and it is a freedom. It's like all of Europe, but Paris, it has its own history, from the revolution, several revolutions, from the art, from also the paintings, the museum, from the modern, the clothing, the fashion, even if Italy is also fashion and New York also. But Paris has its own, the croissant, the
Mm.
the the smell of the boulangerie of the croissant in the morning. It's really different. The beurre and the marmalade is different here, and people are like. I have to be really very fair. Also, you can find it in London in some streets, and also in the west coast in USA. But Paris is kind of mixture, and in the revolution in the 17th century, women in France were the first to show their to take off the upper clothes. So and this is really a sign of freedom to be who we want to be. And there's something that is really kept in my mind and really struck me and imprinted in me, that in France they um, want you to be who you are. They don't want to change you, and they take you for what you are. And this is really, at least for me, this is what I love in France and in Paris.
Oh, but it's so much easier to make someone change into what you want them to be. That's the thing. That's kind of what life is like, I think that's a problem with, like, for me, I have an issue with authority. It's not necessarily that I don't want to do the thing that you're telling me to do. I might even be doing that already, but as soon as someone tells me something, it's like bringing an influence into my life. And then, like, for instance, like living in a nice place. I would never want to live in a nice place. I'd rather live in the worst part of the worst conditions, only because that would be considered home. Then anything that's even slightly better or slightly more normal is seen as an escape, is seen as a vacation. I live in Ocean City. It's a beach town. I went to Hawaii. People are like, Hawaii's my dream place. I'm like, I could have stayed home. I could have stayed home. That's 100%. Because I already see that. I'm already at the beach. The water might be clear, but I'm already surrounded by the ocean. I already see sand. I know what sand and your shoes are like. I already know that experience. A lot of people live in the mountains, want to experience a beach place because they've never experienced it before. But usually if you go and take these ventures out, like usually around when you are able to leave your parents' house and you're able to go out and explore the world, you end up returning somewhat close to home, or you end up returning into some scenario that you had at home because it's the place that you know. It's a longing for a place that you are from. I mean, a lot of people have that, a lot of people experience that. But we have these ideas of vacation, and I'm like, man, a vacation to me is not going to a Disneyland or an amusement park. A vacation to me is just changing the scenery, even going to a place that is maybe a little. I mean, I live in Ocean City. It's not a typical. I mean, for a lot of people, it's a vacation place, but for me, it's like this is a shithole. But you leave, and it's like anywhere I go is amazing. I could go to like, dude, you're just staring in an alleyway. It's like doesn't matter. This alleyway has so much to offer. There's graffiti on the walls. It shows that there was a talented person that came by here, thought one day someone might write this across the wall, come across it in their time of need or something, and bam, you don't notice the small impact that one little thing has into someone else's life. I actually saw a picture on Facebook. A guy had put up a picture like of is a cartoon animation. He was pouring water into a little bowl. And then he was like, "My life doesn't mean anything," and he just walks away. And then two doves come down and start, or pigeons start coming down and drinking from the water. And he goes, "Whoever did this, God bless this person." It's like you don't notice the small impact that you think that you make in this world actually has a large impact into someone else's life.
Yeah. Well, as usual, with one sentence with you, there are a lot of important subject, and this is you, Robbie, all the time. Well, here you talked about the authority, the beach, Hawaii, the place the vacation, home. Okay, allow me to just talk about that. Well, it's very important and very healthy to have problem with authority, and it's not the authority by itself. If you allow me, in my humble opinion, how you represent authority. If the authority is just by shouting, by telling you how you have to do it and what you have to do, it's not by guiding. And this is the problem with authority. Authority is just like it is in the army, and not all of us we can accept to be in the army. Some people will choose, I'm so sorry with the noise because
You're
my
good.
neighbors just decided to do some work at their place. So the authority is important because otherwise is in my opinion, everything I say, it's just my opinion. The authority is by guiding. I'd always give an example like a dad or a mother and the children. You cannot keep your children because they don't know at small age what to do. There is a kind of small control and kind of authority, but not by shouting on them, not but by obliging them to do. It's by guidance. It's by giving an example. So authority, as in the army, it's not suitable for everyone. And I, per se, I cannot have the authority as in the army, because this is why I don't join the army. I cannot be under this rule, just do this and then you will understand. So I need to understand. I need to have a communication to debate. If you convince me, and this is, believe it or not, dear Robbie, this is kind of authority. When you convince someone, it is an intellectual authority. The authority is not just by violence. So the understanding of the authority is really very misleaded. So I am with you with the idea that you don't fit the authority, and I neither. I like the it is used. And for the beach, yeah, there's something very missing in Paris. And this is why I miss it too. Even if I love Paris, I love the wine, I love really the food and the cheese. There are, oh, I know that my American friends, a lot of them, they don't like the smell of the several cheese
I don't like
there.
cheese.
Oh, oh no. And wine? Do you love wine?
I've never had wine.
Oh, I hope that we can travel and I can go to, and I will bring you some red wine, my favorite. And yeah, but I miss the sea. But to go to the sea there, you have to do several hours of plane, or 6 or 10 hours driving to go to the sea, to the south or to the west. To going back to the place where checking what you said, the place where it's home or where like for example, Hawaii. I've been in Hawaii for several months, but I didn't really. I love the sea. I went there, but I really didn't felt that I can live there because I felt that it is like just a vacation place, or it is just it's another. It's my opinion because everyone goes there just to see time passing, just to chill, and everyone, it's cool for vacation or just to retire, but this is for me belonging, to come back. Belonging is where you feel respected. Home, it doesn't have to be Disneyland or Park Disney. In France, we have, in Paris, near Paris suburbs, we have Park Disney. It's kind of Disneyland. I never been there because it's not what I see as a vacation. When I used to go to the vacation, I used to go to the South France, for example, Biarritz, to visit the Bretagne. We have Brittany in France to visit. So I never went. Imagine that I never went to Disneyland, to Park Disney in France, because I don't need that. It's everyone. What is home, and the place is where we feel respected, where we feel belonging. So why is this freedom that I felt in Paris and in a big part of Europe, but I lived in France, so this is why I love Paris and a lot of cities in France, uh, is because I was missing that part of freedom in the country where I was born in Lebanon. We had a lot of problems, and you are judged, and everyone wanted you to be different than who you are. And you know and no one wanted to accept you, and this is not what you see in Paris. So belonging, be who you are. This is your home, where you feel uh, good, creative, uh, pushed for the better of you. Not, they don't put things to stop you, they don't push you back. And especially, you can be who you are. You are free. And this is, trust me, freedom is not just the freedom of voting. It's not just freedom of putting clothes like, I don't know, fuchsia and green. It's just, you are you. Who will be you if you cannot be you? you know
There's something back to what you were saying about authority as well too. I think a giant reason of why I like space so much, but also at the same time, I mean, the only probably aspect I really appreciate about it is that the fact that nobody really has a clear definition of what this is that we're understanding or trying to discover. I mean, we can get basis evidence of like science when it comes to dimensions. Yeah, we're learning about those now too. And we're always constantly learning more. But I like the idea that, like, when it comes to aliens, for instance, it's a topic I think everyone should be interested in, on a concept of we don't want to think we're the only life out there. I hope people don't think that. But at the same time, we don't know if they've been here. We don't know what they are. We don't know anything about them, which leaves room for guessing. It leaves room for imagination. It leaves room for a bunch of things. But everyone just wants to fight over flat Earth, which I wanted to talk to you about. Um, I have flat earth friends, so I'm over here like trying to like bring up points, and I don't have any points, but I think respect goes a lot farther than just being authoritative in a lot of ways. Every manager I've ever had at any job I've ever had has learned that you can't talk to Robbie by telling him what to do. Yes, you have the power to be able to fire him or whatever, but you go a lot farther if you just treat him like a human being. And a lot of issues where people have problems, much as like I do with my with PhDs as well, or academics, is the academics that conversations I've never had that have went well were because they talk down to you like you're a child and you know nothing. And conversations that go great, academics like yourself, they talk like, we're going to go through this step by step. I'm going to hear your thoughts and respect them much as if they were my own, which is a very, very rare thing when it comes to the respect of people. A lot of people talk about like, just a piece of paper doesn't tell you whatever doesn't define your common sense. 100%. I think I've talked to plenty of academics who are smart in one field, but in everywhere else, they're kind of lacking, where I seem to excel past them. And it's a concept of this is an information process. My goal, or what my idea of everyone's purpose on this earth is supposed to be, everyone has their own definitive, but I think the overall collection is we're all information. And the whole point of it is not to seclude the information to ourselves and hold it as a high power, or that we have this control or more information than someone else, but wisdom is supposed to be shared. Wisdom is supposed to be a collection of knowledge between intellectual minds. This debates are supposed to be intellectual chess matches where they're supposed to be with good fun, but also will reward, not this so much risk that we all experience. Everyone is afraid to even side with someone or say something in a fear that it's going to lead to an argument, and that argument leads into all these things, and it leads into this whole big mishmash of division where I'm like, our differences are supposed to bring us together in such a way that we're supposed to grow as people. My life is never complete, and I would be nothing without the people that I've met in my life. Any person out there that says that I've made everything on my own, I have done all this, you're thinking to face value, as in everything that you've created, your house, all these things. 100% are your own money, are the things that you worked for to get that. But the thoughts, the reason why you like certain things, the reason why you have good memories, the constitute of who you are as a person are all environmental influences that are given around the things around you. If you live in a shithole, you want to aspire to get out of the shithole. That's because of the shithole you live in. If you live in a good area, but you want more, or you want to go take vacations, or you don't want to have to worry about people struggling, those are because you've seen the impact of things around you that has played a part into your life. And I look at that like, that's the best example of an informational sharing that is going across the world right now. The reason why when we see a video of something that happens in Lebanon, people here, or me, for instance, get upset because it affects people I know there. It's about understanding and using communication devices to meet people from these places and be able to talk to them so you actually have a heart for what they're going through, not so much isolation where we want to yell at someone over a mask issue.
Mm-mm-mm. Well, you know, Nobel Prize people are the most humble people I know. And I think that Nobel Prize people are really academics, and they are really some geniuses and in their field. And you can find some that they are not humble, but there are some few, and they can talk to you at your level. To me, at even me, a PhD in astrophysics, they can come down to your level without letting you know that they are coming down to your level, and they can ask you questions as if they don't know, and those are the Nobel Prize people. So knowledge, no one has to have problem with academic people, because this is our mission, not to say our duty. I don't see why you can have problems with PhD people or academic. Otherwise, how the knowledge will perpetuate, how we are going to teach the generation, how we are going to share, because sharing is the most important thing in humanity. I cannot go forward and to participate, I or someone else, any researcher or any engineer or any biologist or any doctor in MD cannot go forward in any research of his own if he don't take the research of his someone was born in the 17th century, in the 18th, to correct, even if it was wrong, even if he has to update. When Newton came, he found a formula. Then it was corrected by Einstein, updated by Einstein, then by others, and this is how the science goes. So there is no minimizing any question, and there is no better, and someone is less than others, and all the ideas are welcomed. But what is not welcomed, at least for me, is when you have non logic things. I am open to every idea.
Flat
Okay.
Earth. Tackle that one.
The flat earth, yeah. So you want me to talk about a flat earth? when we observe, for example, the ISS, the International Space Station, it has been there for more than 30 years. And we have people like you and me, not conspiracy theorists, not people who are create, not robots,
Mhm.
not clones, who goes there, colleagues who I talked with, and they are born from a mother and a father, and they've been trained, and they go and they take pictures and they take live coverage, and the earth has curved, it's a sphere. So that we cannot say that, oh, it is a fish eye lens. This go beyond imagination. One. Second, when the flat earther, with all my respect, I'm not here to judge, I'm just explaining, and this is my job, when they accept the idea that all the planets in the solar system are spherical, but the Earth is a flat, this is against all the physical laws. Why? Because, and here the dangerous thing, and I know that a lot will go against me now, and I'm sorry, Robbie, because you will have a lot of messages, because
I
because
already got
God.
Scientologists after me. I don't really care.
Yeah, and I'm really sorry. Maybe I will get also, but too, but I don't really care neither. Because what? Because God created Earth different because of and this is the dangerous thing, is what you gonna talk, what you gonna say to people when they put God into the equation. Then you cannot say anything. So how you are going to explain that God created Earth different than others because it is the human place. Let me just finish on one thing.
Okay.
And when you tell them, okay, so the Arctica and Antarctica, oh yes, those are the walls for men to not go, to not fall from the earth. Seriously, because we can rotate, we can go and walk around. There are scientists who did it. Oh no, they are lying. Okay, this is another lie. Great. So what about the gravity? The gravity is false because actually there is the flat earth. Imagine that this is a flat earth. So it is moving upward with a force that it is not identified, with a speed of 9.8. So what is pulling this earth? We don't know. So is that any nuclear power? Okay, it's God. Fine. Another point. So you know that when a ship is, when a ship, you see it, it is appearing. Okay, the way it appears, I'm sorry, I didn't prepare any slides because I was
You're
not
good.
aware that you are going to talk about this. When a ship appears, the way that it is appear or disappear, it shows that from the geometry that it is not a flat thing, that it appears or disappear in the ocean or in the sea. From the geometry you can draw it. Okay, it is a curved thing. Another thing, we can have that a very good flat earther thinking, I forgot his name, he wanted to do an experiment, and you can find it in YouTube and everywhere, to show that he took two holes in very in a height or 90 centimeter or 1 meter 90. He took two sticks, he did two pinholes, in a very very distance. He wanted to prove that the earth is flat. He put a light in those pinholes. So if the earth is flat with very distant pinholes, the light has to pass through the pinholes number one and the pinhole number two. You got the image? So he went into a flat a water. So he put a pinhole, a vertical stick, and he did a pinhole. Then a very distant, another one, a second one, and he put a laser. So if the Earth was flat, the laser has to pass into the pinhole, and he has to pass into the another pinhole that it was so far away. So it will not pass. He has to adjust the distance of the second one.
I think
So he
I've seen this
wanted,
video. I've seen it.
yes, so he wanted to prove that the flat is Earth. Actually, no, because it's curved, so he has to adjust the. So when you have a lot of scientific proof, uh, it's this is why I decided just for you that I'm talking about this after years of explaining that the Earth is not flat.
I don't
And
believe it is. I've heard so many points that
and
I've refuted, and I'm curious now to see what your thoughts would be if you thought the same as me. How
it
do you refute the point of Oh God, I
I
just had it in my head. Were you gonna say something?
I don't use the word believing, please. The believing is it's just science facts.
Okay.
The word believing is so tricky. I know what you want to say. I understand your point. It's a scientifically believing, but because the flat earther use believing in a different way, so this is why I just stick in the fact that it is science wise, and believing let us, you don't think that the earth is flat, you don't see that the earth is flat, you don't, but not, please let us not use the word believing.
Okay. I love perspectives on my show, so I'm not a flat earther. I'm not a
Yeah,
I'm a round earth guy. But
yeah.
I want to talk about some points that have been brought up to me, which I have refuted, but I want to see if your brain says the same thing as what I've said. So, some point that's brought to me is that if the Earth is moving 1,200 miles an hour or whatever we're spinning at, how come we don't feel it, or how come the wall doesn't hit? Now, I've refuted the point. The point I've refuted is the fact of like, we adjust because we're born here. It's kind of like being in a car, for instance. After you're in a car for a while, your body adjusts, and next thing you know, you don't even realize that you're moving 90 miles an hour. You're kind of just going. But that was proven that I was an idiot for saying that. So I want to know what your thoughts would be on the fact that maybe that wall's not hitting me at 1,200 miles an hour right now.
I feel like it's so sad. Maybe I should have not left, but it's so sad because we are coming back to the 16th century and to the 13th century, when they used to think that the earth is the center of the universe, and for the geocentric model, and when they used to think that if the earth was rotating, then we should feel the atmosphere, and we should have a lot of wind and stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. I will answer, but I'm going to give you an example. So you take water, you put water in your how we call it, in container with a handle, just to
Pitcher,
clean sorry,
a pitcher.
a pitch, yeah, but a big one in a handle, just you know and you rotate it very fast, and it's called the rotational force, centrifugal and centripetal. So for example, if you want to clean the earth, okay, you want to clean your earth, you have this big and so how we call it, you put water in your thing, and it has a handle, a big handle,
Yeah. A bucket.
um, a bucket, and with a handle. Okay, so you put your water. Okay, so you take with the handle. Okay, and you rotate it very fast. What will happen
The
to the
water stays in
water?
the bucket
How come?
because you have enough force to make it stay in the bucket.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so okay, okay. So what is happening here? And I will answer. This is the Earth is rotating. Okay, what is creating here, as Einstein said, he explained that the gravitational force is exactly as the acceleration force. So what is going on here, when you are rotating like this, you are creating a virtual and artificial gravitational force. So the water is sticking to the surface, internal surface of the bucket.
Hmm.
Okay. Is this tiny every tiny particle of the feeling of the water is feeling, it's not feeling. For her, for the water, it is as if it is fixed at each water is feeling at it is fixed with the same rotation of the bucket. So for the water, if you are a small dot of water, you are not moving because the water and the bucket are in the same speed and
Okay.
they are stick together. I will give you another example.
Well, for instance, like in the International Space Station, there's a video of an astronaut in there, and then he like randomly something goes into this certain part of the space station and just drops. Like it created gravity, and an astronaut talked about it in an interview how the when it rotates, there's a certain part of it it actually can create its own gravity, which is why in the video it drops. So that's kind of what you're
Yes,
explaining a little bit.
yes. And another example, how come that you don't feel yourself moving in the plane? I think that the flat earther take the plane.
Um, I think when it came to anything with planes with the flat earther, they always talked about how you can't see the curve of the earth. You can't.
I don't talk about the curvature of the earth now. I'm talking about when you are in a something that is moving, you are having the same motion of this something.
Yeah,
It is
you're gaining
called,
the same speed. You adjust.
yes, it is called the speed and relative speed. So on the earth is rotating and we are on it. So it has its own gravity because the gravity is by the curvature of space. So, and we are rotating with it. So this is why we don't feel that we are moving.
Okay. What about the point that space isn't real? You're right.
Okay, God. Well, space. Well, now if I'm gonna answer this, maybe they are not going to really understand it. Well, space isn't real because it's space and time. Space by itself doesn't exist. We are entangled space and time. Time isn't real, but space and time does not exist. We always calculate an interval of time, but space, of course, exists. It is a space and time. Space by itself doesn't exist. Time by itself doesn't exist. We live in a space time universe.
Another point that the flat earthers brought up that I remember is how come we can see the sun and the moon at the same like one will be up on one side of the sky and the other will be up on the other side of the sky?
Oh no, ma'am. You are making me really answering those seriously.
Well, I know what I think, but I just also like because here's the thing: is my buddy Ben. He did a
Yeah.
podcast with a guy named Flat Earth Dave, and Flat Earth Dave has like his video in a day got like 2,000 something views because sadly everyone's interested in the flat Earth style talk instead of the science behind what's like they want to get, and a lot of it is entertaining the idea of it. People like to look at him and be like, "Well, he's wrong about this. He's wrong about this." But at the same time, there's a large amount of people that believe that the earth is flat. Now, I'm not one of
Yeah.
those people, but understanding their perspective, I start to look at like my whole point is NASA's lied before about when they CGI'd photos of Earth. When they got like the full giant picture of it when it was first released, they came out saying yes, they CGI'd some of the clouds to make it look more appealing for the public. That's my issue. Is you lied once. You might not have been lying
Exactly.
entirely, but now you've
Yeah.
led the door open into everything you ever say is
Yes.
going to be a lie. And this is why we
Yes.
have people now like Neil deGrasse Tyson. He doesn't want to talk about this at all, but he also doesn't believe aliens are real. He doesn't, and I'm like, what? I'm so mixed parted because I'm part of the alien community, the flat Earth community. Then I talk to
Yes.
academics, and I'm all over the place. So I'm like,
Yes.
can I have
Yes.
some like different
Yes.
perspectives here?
I had it's very true what you're saying. I had yesterday a discussion with a very well known astrophysicist here in France, and I asked him why the big names in astrophysics, like had like 50, 60 years career, they have like 85 years now, why they don't talk about flat earth. And I think that it is their fault. They don't explain to people really, because, and he told me that they consider that it is rubbish. And they said that it is going to end. I told them no, because people has the right, if they believe something, they have the right to continue if there's no one to explain to them. And he answered that for them it is nonsense, because the thing was closed, subject closed, like 4 centuries ago. And I said, well, I think that if they continue to ask me, I will continue to answer. So you're right, people has the right to know. And at some point, NASA, when they lied, they needed money. And this is why now private companies are paying money to continue the work of NASA, because any research lab worldwide is having problem with finance.
Well, it's because
So this,
science is on the chopping block. Sadly,
yeah,
science says a lot of things where in society's eyes right now is not
yeah.
exactly the best of things to say. You can't talk about gender. You can't talk about a bunch of different things because anything that goes against that is, and I look at it like I think
Don't bring me there.
well, I think for a lot of people, the reason why they have a pushback against science is trying to label them, and people are kind of tired of being labeled, which I can understand. It's kind of goes back to the authoritative thing that we said before, but also they bring up the point that science is wrong sometimes. And I'm like, well, that's the whole point of science. Science is a giant conglomerates of learning as people should be doing. You should be growing. If science ever stays complacent into one thing too long, there's other people out there that want to prove that wrong. And then my big issue is with Avi Loeb. That man, if you ever listen to him and watch him and hear him talk, he's so fucking smart. But
Yeah,
so many people are gunning for him because what he's trying to talk about, which end up might be right, is discrediting or going to ruin all these people who have spent so long trying to research into one thing, and they look at that as a personal attack. And I'm like, guys, this is bigger than your own name getting a Nobel Prize. This is something about what's going to be for the future generations, the people that are going to inhabit this planet and hopefully carry on the legacy that is the human species. Because right now we're not doing so hot when it comes to the fertility count with plastics. We're not doing so good when it comes to we're more obsessed with going on to another planet rather than fixing salt in the ocean water. Like we can
yeah,
desalt it so California doesn't go through droughts. We're attacking each other left and right when it comes to invasions that we shouldn't be doing, all because we want valuable resources or we want power and control.
yeah,
It's just it's so like weird to see, and I like it, but I also don't. I feel strongly for everyone that goes through so much hardship, but at the same time I look at it like, man, when you come the idea of science to a lot of people in society and why it's on the chopping block. They look at it like a rabid dog with rabies that is coming to hurt their loved ones or their babies. And then the way that science looks at all these people that are trying to cancel their funding and do all these things, they look at them like an alligator that's trying to attack their child. And it's like, you guys are got very distorted perceptions of what each other are. And I think the main goal is the same. It's like you're tackling it with a positive and negative. One person's going at it their way, and another person's going at it their way. You guys want the same goal. You want people to never have to worry. If I ask a scientist and I ask a person that might be an activist against canceling science, I ask them the question, do you care about people? They're going to say yes. They're both
yes,
going to say yes. So why are you so worried about destroying each other where we say we're going back to like the old school days, we're going back in history in a way? We're going to end up destroying so much that we're going to have to restart this whole process over. I predict the next great fire of Alexandria, one of our major things that holds a lot of our information is probably going to burn down again. Luckily, we got the internet to back it up. But what happens if that burning down is the internet going away? Next thing you know, we're out of internet because people say, I'm tired of going online and seeing some person tweet this or say that. Then what? How are we got to learn to build our way back up to talking to each other again? Or if you only have good intentions into your heart, you can talk to people on the internet. Well, what about all the Russian troll farms where they create fake accounts to spark up animosity between people
Yes.
just to get their country fighting and tearing themselves apart? You're not getting progress, and I get it. I don't think it's about who's right and who's wrong, which is in if any court issue, it's all about who's right and wrong. I never want to be wrong, so I'm going to lie and manipulate my way to win. I think this is bigger than all of us. I think it's bigger on the concept of this is about information processing and understanding to help excel us as people into a better era. If that means that there are no genders, so be it. But at the same time, you cannot yell and fight and stomp your feet, even if you're on the science end or if you're on the society end. You have to understand that we're all working towards the same goal. And I look at it like, fuck, no wonder nobody wants to live on this planet anymore. I'm already sitting here at 23 like this is some shit.
Well, I I want to live on this planet because there is a lot of things to do still on this planet. But for our friends, the earthers, once again, it's a page full of answers for your sentence. um, I'm gonna start by the moon and the sun. How we can see the moon and the sun on the same time.
Well, that's way back
Actually,
there. Oh, I
yeah,
went way
yeah.
past
Well,
that.
yeah, no, no, no. I'm gonna be. I want to answer all the
Yeah.
questions for our friends, the flat earthers, and for those who for all those who are not flat earthers, but they don't have the answers. Here I am. Ooh, Dr. C is here, and actually, yes, the Earth rotates. Okay. Well, if you told me I could have had some spheres and stuff, so the Earth is rotating, right? But it is not so perfect. It is not rotating at the same axis, at the vertical axis. So it is rotating. So my head is the Earth. So it's rotating like this. It's tilted 23 degrees. Okay. So when the sun is here with an angle of 23 degrees, there is some hours where the moon is trying to rotate his way because the moon is rotating around the earth. Okay. And the system earth and moon, which the earth is rotating like this, and the moon is rotating around the sun.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, because of this tilt of 23-degree, so they can appear together. But if you see that for our flat earthers and other, the moon is not so bright at that time. When we see the earth, the moon, sorry, pardon, the moon and the sun at the same time, the moon is not so bright because the moon doesn't shine by itself. The moon take its brightness from the sun because the sun is still here. Okay. So it is kind of, the sun is overshining, so the moon is a little bit, it's like transparent when they are both here. Okay. So this is why they can appear. So the not always the earth is blocking the moon and we cannot see them together. There is a small tilt, so we can see them at several times together. We can still see the sun and still see the moon.
A point on that, my little thought is, and I ended up creating it into a conspiracy that I'm not going to waste your time with.
No, so
Why is it that it's getting darker later, but it's getting brighter earlier? It seems like the moon is having less time in the sky than the sun is. It's getting dark where I live around 9, 9:30 sometimes. And some people it's 10. But then the sunrise is at 5:30 or 5 o'clock sometimes, where I'm wondering, why is it the moon? I thought they got an equal 12 hours or 12 hours. Is it not that?
well, it's not. Listen, the so again, this is the Earth, okay, and this is a proof that the Earth. What you said, it's a proof that the Earth is spherical. So actually, this is the Earth. We have the equator, okay. We have the south and we have the north, right? And because it's tilted and it's rotating around itself, imagine that here, this point here is the sun. So this is the Earth and tilted, rotating around the sun. So when it's tilted, it will do uh, an angle. The plane will be with an angle. So at a time, the sun will virtually appear up or down. And this is why for example, in the countries that they are up very high on the equator, they will have their sun go down. The sunset will be so late. It is because the earth is a sphere and the sun is farther.
Kind of
I,
like Alaska, for instance, they have night most of the day and they don't really have a lot of sunlight.
yes, and listen, it's not all the time, because in winter it will be the inverse. And it is because we have this 23 degrees. So imagine that I am the earth and this is the virtual motion of the sun.
Yeah.
So we will have, let us invert things, okay? Let us take a relative motion. Now I am the earth and we fix the earth, just for the example. And this is the sun. So the sun will move with an angle like this. So at a moment, the sun will be up. This is the north hemisphere, and we will have the summer here. Here we will have the winter. Every south will have the winter. So here in Alaska, it will be like the whole uh, time, like 6 months. And in Australia, we will have winter and stuff.
That's
Uh, it is geometry. It's
yeah.
like, let me give you an example.
Well, you
So
said it in our last podcast we did. I remember you talking about how it's like a cone, how it kind of goes around like
exactly,
okay,
exactly. Like you take your
a spinny
lamp,
top, spin it.
you spin it, and you take a light, hand light,
Hmm.
and you take it directly perpendicular. It's very concentrated, and you do it like this. You have the same amount, but it is so distributed.
Yeah. Like I always bring up when people say, "Why can't I see the Earth curve?" Then, and I'm like, "Well, you're looking at it like it's like you're holding a ball and you're able to rotate it." I'm like, no, this is something. This is on a grand scale proportion. The same
Yes,
reason when we look at like, okay, my buddy lives 5 streets away. It's 5 streets on Google Maps. It's right there. But when really it's a travel, it's not just a walk to his house. It's a good little bit. So you got to drive there. So
if I take,
people they bring up the point of like
if
why
I
can't
take
I
a
see the
balloon.
curve? And I'm like, well, you
Yes,
can't see the curve because that's like 100 miles or so. That's like you're taking it at like it's a mile. Why can't I see the curve after a mile? It's like no, because in the grand scheme of the Earth is so huge. Where from a distance, countries look like ants at times. So you look at like that's a big thing. So you can't just say, oh, you can't see the curve after a mile. You're more like 100 miles or two
yes.
hundred miles.
I can give them a very great example, and then we go to the wrong and right and aliens. I can give them a great example. They can have 100,000 kilometer wire. Okay,
Okay.
they can buy it, and I propose to them, to two persons, to one to stay in Paris and one to go 100,000 kilometer. It will be, I don't know where. Okay, and then they will see that there will be a shortage. They will not arrive to 100,000, because if they will take just the distance of Google Map, they will think that it will be 100,000, but actually what they will need is 2 pi r, because there is a curvature. Actually, the curvature of the earth was done like 300,000 before Jesus Christ.
Hmm.
It's by Aristotle, and it is by the shadow of the light of the sun. And we know that in Alexandria, at 12 at noon, there's no shadow, and he sent his student to Sina. By that day, it was called Sina. I don't know, Sana'a, Sina. And he wanted them to take the shadow, the exact shadow at noon. And the shadow was 7.3. So the angle, there's an angle. And from that, we knew that there is a curvature. You know that he took a stick. He took a stick. So if you take a stick from the sunlight, okay, at noon, you have zero shadow. So at the same day, the same time, his student took in Sana'a, I don't know how many kilometers there, you know, he took a stick and there was 7 degree shadow. So from that, the distance, it was 2 pi r, and this is how he calculated the radius of the Earth. So
Okay.
it was really done a lot times ago.
I do want to hit the alien topic, so make sure we hit that.
Yes, yeah. But just several things to say. Just we don't need to choose between saving our planet and the salty water and going out to other planets. We can tackle the two. There are a lot of scientists who can do both. And this is what really always paining me. And you said something very important. What we are missing are the good intentions. And what you said also about Avi Loeb also is there's something that if you tackle the alien subject, you are categorized sick, crazy, and not very good scientist, or not very good researcher, even if you have a very good record. And this is, I think, what happened to Avi. And when you said about the authority, and if you say something that they don't want you to say, it's not wrong. It's not authority, it's just the cancel culture. That what I'm feeling here. And this is what I wanted to say. Let us get back to the aliens.
Wait, hold
What
on.
was
Before we go into that, do you
Yeah,
believe that there's aliens out there, and do you believe that they have came here?
okay. Well, let me just emphasize on something. No believing in my words. No believing term in my word. Well, I think that it is very uh, arrogant to think that we are alone in this universe. But like Clark said, that if we are alone, it's very threatening, and I'm afraid if we are alone,
Mhm.
and it's very frightening if we are not alone. So this is why we continue searching. And I think that we are not alone statistically. And but have we been visited? Um, I don't know. To emphasize, to continue to talk about that, we need to go back to the report on the 27th, 25th of June by the Pentagon. And it was quite interesting because it is 9 pages, and it's not 9 pages. The first page is the title. The two last pages, the 8 and the 9, are
References.
the references, the papers, and it is kind of 6 pages. The first pages is just stating, so the first pages of the 6 pages
Yeah.
is just stating what they are saying. And the most important thing is that they are saying, I hope that your viewers will go, you can find it on the gov, on state.gov. And what you can see is that it is written in dark, normal dark, bold dark, black, I mean normal black, bold black, and in blue. And what you can see is that they say that first, it is the sources are credible. They are really official sources. They are some pilots and engineers, so they are not crazy. Second, some unexplained technique of the speed of, for example, going several thousand of miles and then rotating 90 degrees. So it is not something that we know until now.
My thought of that is, I think it's equipment that we don't have knowledge of that the government has, only because they went to pilots talk about it goes to the reference point where they're supposed to meet up, and it
I
knew
will.
like it was going there. And I go, well, imagine you're in a secret government clearance and you are going to try and show yourself to these pilots, and as like a show that your equipment this crazy thing or get this alien idea out there. You know they're going to show you where the hey, this is where the group's going to meet up. You got to meet them there. You got to act like you know where you're going or beat them there or something like that.
Well, I'll come back to this, okay?
Okay.
And then there is a point that is really written that it's a threat. It can be considered a threat. Okay, so I will not talk about what was blah 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 blah. First of thing, it is really interesting that it's a very short notice, a report, as if they are really doing it very quick and just to finish with it. And knowing that the Cometa report and the Condom report were like just 100 pages. Well, the blue book note, and it ended like, there's no aliens, nothing to talk about. Anyway, but it was like 100 pages. One. Second, if it was a known human technology, like we can think like Russian or Chinese, or means that there's a problem with the FBI, CIA, and all the intelligentsia corps in USA, because means that there's a problem. Knowing that, noting that there are observations of those kinds of engines in China, in Russia, in France, in Pakistan, in Iran. So it's not just in USA, but this report is made for the Congress. This is why they are just talking about that. Third point, there is maybe a new technology, but they don't want to talk about it. And why is that? And this is a question. This is a real question. There has been a technology in the late 70s, late 60s, beginning of the 70s, that is called the magnetohydrodynamic, MHD. What is this technology? This technology doesn't work like the normal airborne or the normal airplanes or the normal things. It is to make kind of emptiness in front of the airplane with the magneto things, like to do a ion place to empty the atmosphere in front of the engine. Then when you put a small nuclear engine in the back of the airplane, like Newton's law say, you can push it and it can move ad vitam aeternam, means that a very big speed, nothing can stop it when there is no friction. Because until now, the airplanes use the friction of the atmosphere. Well, I'm doing like, I'm doing the,
Like a bird.
yeah. So the birds use the friction of the atmosphere, and the airplanes, until now, they use the friction, they use the heat. So this is why it's heated. But the MHD was developed, they started in the USA, they were developed in Russia, but it seems that the USA stopped it and Russia continued. So if it is the case, then there is a problem. This is why there is an email or a tweet or something like that. They said after the 25th of June, there is another report will be go out, will be sent after 90 days of this report. Well, whatever is this means that first, the only positive point is that we are not crazy. I mean, like scientists, if we talk about unidentified alien phenomena, and notice that they change the names. It's not UFO
Yeah.
anymore.
It's an umbrella now, like supernatural stuff too.
And it's not supernatural. They are not saying that everything that we cannot identify in the air is aliens, but the new director of NASA, he allowed us scientists to speak about it. We are not crazy anymore to talk about it, but not to go into conspiracy theory. And this is the only positive point that I can see. And the sad thing is in France, in the whole countries, no one spoke about it.
Yeah, it's because they scared you with COVID, and then now everyone lost interest into the whole alien thing. But there's still a large amount of people on UFO Twitter, but sadly, Twitter is kind of like um a stomping ground for a lot of people that just want to be crazy as hell and not really be like it's very hard for me. I've talked to a lot of people from UFO Twitter. Um few respectable people, I would say. Everyone else wants to put a fake profile and then have like a cult or some type of crazy conspiratorial name, and I'm like, what's the idea? So you don't want to get lumped in with the conspiracies, is why you call it unidentified aerial phenomena. Or are you afraid of the fact that if you call it aliens and you say that everything that they've been saying about aliens is true, then you're going to validate those people you label as a conspiracy person, and that means every conspiracy person is correct. That's probably another fear that goes into their head. And I look at it like you would validate so many people that have probably spent, I mean, like when I talk to my buddy who's a flat earther, you look at him, as funny as it might be, he is 100% convinced that the earth is flat and there's no steering his head from it. And I look at it like a bunch of things have lined up into your head where you have yourself thinking this way, much as like maybe to us or to him, he considers all of us convinced that it's round and he's the clear one. I don't know. But at the same time, I look at it like this is what happens when you start giving misinformation that groups have been known to do, especially governments. Every government has been known to give misinformation to their people and keep them in the dark. As much as we look at, like, let's take the CCP, for instance, how they keep the people in China in the dark.
Mhm.
How do we know that's not happening to us with a bunch of shit? There's probably other countries. Australia's like, why'd you guys only get 9 pages? I don't know. I don't know
Mhm.
why because they're keeping us in the dark. And I look at
Well,
it like, just tell me it. I just want to know. I just want to know.
well, I will be more moderated than you because I'm older than you, maybe because I learned how hold myself a little bit. But for example,
I don't want to
I
hold
all
myself at all. I want to piss everybody off.
no, what is really surprising is that scientists are so conservative. And this is something that I already told you that shocked me once I arrived, that I always thought that scientists are the first to turn table on, to are open to everything just to verify it. For example, listen, it was until 2013 that the government confirmed the existence of the Area 51. I don't know if you are aware of that. People were considered crazy. It's officially accepted that Area 51 existed until 2013,
It's like
which
the
is
damn lab. Now they're looking into it, and everyone's like, well, maybe you're not. So I want to hit everybody that told me I was a nut
okay.
job for even saying that.
Okay, just let me finish my idea to tell you that people, you know, for example, when people were observing, Phoenix observations in France, there are really good observation of pilots and people, humble people, but really not crazy people. And now after like 50 years of observations, they are telling us maybe there are some unidentified alien phenomena. So maybe in 50 years they will tell us, listen, yeah, uh, aliens exist. So
I think it'll be sooner than that. It's very strange because I was actually having this discussion with my buddy's mom's boyfriend. He was telling me, like, I was telling him, like, yeah, we're going to the moon and again, but like people want to start colonizing or doing that on the moon. He's like, why would you ever want to live on the moon? And I'm in that boat. I think that's a horrible idea. But the perspective that I look at is imagine you're the first billionaire to go to the moon and then you build a place on there. As soon as other people start going up there, they're going to come to you who has a village or a foundation that you've already built, and they're going to want resources. They're going to want help. And now you're like the leader of this moon colony. And I told him about that. He goes, yeah, but that probably won't be in our lifetime. It won't be in your lifetime. Like maybe not.
no.
But I'm pretty sure 20 years ago, nobody thought the cell phone or the internet would be a thing as it is today. So I go, maybe we're farther advanced than we like to think that we or not. You know what I mean?
Mm, 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 mm. Well, going to the moon for me, it's just tomorrow. I think that we will have the village, the moon village.
The moon
But
landing's
what I
fake too. I'm in that boat.
no, but what I'm sad is that it is for the billionaires, and I would love to be for the nations and to have several nations together to go to build the moon village. And there is a lot of there are a lot of scientific interest to go and live on the moon because we can observe from the moon. We can consider as a base to go there from the moon to go to other planets. But how it is going nowadays, as I have a lot of billions, so I'm not good on earth, so I can show my billions using the poor people with $2 an hour, and then I can go to the moon. Oh yeah, I want to go to Mars, and then I don't give a damn with science because my star links preventing me are preventing the astrophysicists to do their observation on exoplanets. Yeah, I'm not loving
Good old
how it is
Bezos.
turning. Oh God, yeah, not just Bezos and Elon Musk, but I know that there are a lot of person who love Elon Musk, so I will not talk about
I
it.
do want to say I tagged Bezos in one of my Instagram stories and it said
Yeah.
seen. So I just want
Mm.
him to know that I am talking about him multiple times.
Yeah, I'll talk about too. Well, I respect
Hustle.
the personality of Elon Musk, but I don't love the narcissistic person of Elon Musk, and I really don't respect Bezos.
I think like a lot of people have issues with Elon Musk, and I'm like, why did he stop building tunnels to help with traffic? And I'm like, because he doesn't live there anymore. He's not in it for the benefit of people. He's in it for the
No,
benefit of what's going to make his life easy.
of
Bezos is
himself.
just
No,
money
no.
hungry.
And Elon Musk also, when you have the Starlinks, people who does research in astrophysics will understand what I'm saying. We are not able to observe anymore.
Yeah.
We have those Starlinks, and anyway.
And this is probably another reason why science is under scrutiny is because like not even what is it 2 years ago there was that I think around the time we talked there was that observatory that they were trying to make in Hawaii, but people said that's on native land and there was a lot of issues and then
Mm.
scientists got under a lot of fire. It's like, well, they got pushed to the point of having to go there because that's the only place you could see the through the atmosphere.
Yeah, and listen, at that time, Elon Musk said there's no use to use the Earth anymore. You have to go to the moon or to Mars.
We've
Well,
known
yeah,
each other for almost 2 years.
yeah. Mm. But listen, it's anyway. Maybe this if this is the only way to be able to do astrophysics, maybe he is. Anyway,
I'm sentimental. When the 2 years, that's almost 2 years we've been talking.
just 2 years. I saw today. I was thinking that more than this. No,
It might be a little
two,
bit
two,
more. It
two,
was in
I think
January.
2 years and a half. I think.
It was in January because
Yep.
right after our or right before our discussion, I had a 2 hour podcast with an like a astrologist that was talking about psychics and the power of the moon energy and all these
Yeah.
things and your horoscopes and going through the nine whatever the things are. Eh, but I prefer
2 years and a half.
yeah,
Yeah,
two
more
years
than a
and a
half.
half.
Yeah. So you see,
It's been an experience. It means you like me if you're coming back.
yeah, I like you so much. I love you, Rob.
I appreciate it. Think I love you
Mm,
too.
mm.
Where can people find you at? Because we've been talking for a good bit. I don't want to waste your whole wonderful day. You look nice. You still got the France glow, like I was telling you about the Paris glow.
Well, yeah, when I'm with friends, I sleep well, actually, and I eat well, I drink well, and I see people. Well, you can find me on my social media, Dr. Cyrine Nehmé in Instagram, LinkedIn, Dr. Cyrine Nehmé, Nehmeh or Me, on Facebook, the same. And what do I have on Twitter, Dr. Cyrine Nehmé, and on YouTube. When you will send me the link, I will upload it on my YouTube channel, Dr. Cyrine Nehmé Astro Channel.
And we will get you on more. You should start your own podcast. I'm telling you.
Well, I really don't have time.
Okay.
I will see. I will see.
Or at least do like a 5 minute YouTube video. Debunk. You
Yes.
should debunk flat earthers.
Well, I will do this. I thought about doing 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Yeah, live, but yeah.
All
Well,
right.
I'm searching. I'm searching for a job to leave Lebanon and to be or in Europe or in state. Well, we'll see.
Go over to the UK. Everybody could use a Dr. Cyrine Nehmé.
Yeah, well, I miss the sun. I love UK. I love the accent
It's just
too.
rainy all the time.
Yeah, mm, yeah, about the sun,
Well, look, I'll link everything in the description. Is there anything you want to end on to the people out there?
Yes, I just tell them always look up to the sky and always watch and wait for out of the blank.